Listen closely. You're not failing because you lack strength. You're failing because you can't stop filling every silence. Every time someone tests you, you fire back. Every time someone questions you, you rush to justify. Every time someone disrespects you, you explode in defense. And right there, in that exact flash of emotion, you surrender your leverage. Because while you're exhausting yourself defending your ego, they're not fighting back. They're studying you. Your voice cracks. Your hurried tone. The insecurity leaking through every word. You think you're standing up for yourself. But what you're really doing is handing them a blueprint to your mind. And the most unsettling truth, you never even notice it happening. The truly dangerous individuals don't raise their voices. They don't rush to correct anyone. They don't beg to be understood. They simply wait. And while everyone else combusts with noise, they're quietly cataloging your fears, your patterns, your exact breaking point. Silence isn't emptiness. It's a loaded weapon. But most people are addicted to the chaos of speech. Quiet makes them itch. So they chatter, explaining, defending, oversharing. And that's precisely where they stumble. They say too much, admit too much, torpedo their own standing without any outside help. This is the missing piece. You assumed power meant winning debates, crushing arguments, proving everyone wrong. But real control is knowing exactly when to lock your jaw and say absolutely nothing. Long ago, a shrewd thinker named Machiavelli recognized this. He understood that authority doesn't come from what you announce. It comes from what you deliberately conceal. Because the second people decode you, they can forecast you. And the second they forecast you, they own you. So ask yourself, why are you making their job so effortless? In this arena, people rarely lose because an enemy beats them. They lose because their own ego, their impatience, their desperate craving to be heard rips them open. The need to explain is the first chain of captivity. Today, that ends. You're about to discover how to turn quiet into a tactical edge, how to stop flinching and start observing, how to let others ramble until they hang themselves with their own words. You won't need to chase. You won't need to prove a single thing. Because once you master the art of strategic stillness, you stop playing their game and start owning the entire board. Repeat this to yourself. I don't flinch. I don't over-explain. I watch. And while they drown in their own noise, I move forward. 1. Crush the reflex to justify yourself. The instant someone challenges you, a knot tightens in your chest. Almost automatic. You feel the overwhelming urge to clarify, to set the record straight, to make sure they don't walk away with the wrong idea. That instinct feels like self-defense. But it's a cage. Because the moment you scramble to defend, you hand them the steering wheel. Now the conversation orbits around their accusation, their frame, their rules. You are no longer leading. You are reacting, and the one who reacts is always following. Listen clearly. Defensiveness is not power. It's a beacon. A beacon that their words landed. A beacon that you crave their good opinion. A beacon that your inner world is shaky. And people can smell that insecurity like blood in water. They might never say it aloud, but they feel your urgency. And urgency is a confession. Composed people don't rush. They don't panic over misunderstandings. They let silence expand into the room. Why? Because silence destroys expectations. When someone slings an insult or a doubt your way, they want a reaction, anger, tears, a flustered defense. But when you give them nothing, no shift in expression, no rush to correct, just stillness. That stillness becomes a mirror. Now they're the ones feeling uncertain. They start second-guessing their own jab. You didn't defeat their argument. You made them doubt themselves. That is a much deeper victory. Here's a hard truth. Not every misconception needs to be untangled. Sometimes, explaining makes you weaker. Every word you add is another data point for them to twist, store, or weaponize later. You think you're clarifying. You're actually feeding them ammunition. But when you stay silent, you stay a ghost. No patterns, no tells, no easy handles. Silence builds a wall between their perception and your reality. And behind that wall, you remain untouchable. This doesn't mean becoming a mute monk. It means choosing your moments like a sniper chooses a shot. You don't speak because you feel pressure. You speak only when words serve your position, nothing more, nothing less. Power lives in disciplined restraint, not constant expression. There will be times when people deliberately misunderstand you. They'll twist your actions, poke your patience, not because they're confused, but because they want to see you jump. And if you jump, you lose, not visibly but internally, because now they know exactly which button to push. But if you hold still, silent and steady, you broadcast a far louder message. I am not here for your judgment. I am not here for your understanding. I am here to remain in control. And once they realize they can't drag you into their circus, they either quit or they expose even more of themselves trying. So crush the urge, not by fighting it, but by noticing it. Feel the itch to explain, then choose quiet anyway. Because the less you defend, the less they can touch you. And the day you stop needing to announce who you are, that's the day you become genuinely dangerous. 2. Use silence as a psychological mirror. Most people don't realize how much they leak when they talk. They think chatter equals influence, that the more they say, the more power they hold. But words are not armor. Words are X-rays. Every sentence carries signals. Tone reveals emotion, pacing reveals anxiety, word choices reveal hidden biases. And the longer someone speaks, the harder it becomes to keep the mask on. Nobody can perform perfectly forever. This is where your quiet becomes lethal. When you remove your voice from the exchange, you unbalance the equation. Now it's one-sided, and that imbalance creates a low, humming tension that most people cannot tolerate. Silence stretches seconds into minutes. It makes people feel seen without any reassurance. So they crack. They start babbling not with intention but with impulse. They over-explain. They justify things nobody asked about. They try to impress or reclaim control. And in that desperate flood of words, the truth slips out. Contradictions appear. Hidden motives surface. You didn't interrogate them. You didn't push. You simply held a quiet space and let their own mind do the demolition work. That's why silence is a mirror. It reflects everything back at them without interruption, without comfort, without a filter. People begin to hear themselves clearly for the first time. And in that clarity, cracks form. The arrogant start over-explaining. The manipulative reveal their agenda. The insecure beg for approval. And you see all of it. This is the gap between observers and participants. Participants react. Observers collect data. Participants try to win the moment. Observers learn the pattern. And once you understand the pattern, you don't need force. You just need to watch. So next time, don't rush to fill the gap. Let the quiet sit between you. Let it grow heavy. Let it press against them. Then simply watch how fast people show you who they really are when nobody is interrupting. Because people don't break under pressure. They break in silence. 3. Become impossible to read. The moment someone figures you out, your edge vanishes. Not in a dramatic flash, quietly. They start logging your reactions. They study how you respond to stress. They note what triggers you, what amuses you, what makes you hesitate. Slowly, they assemble a psychological profile. Once that profile is complete, you become predictable. And predictable is controllable. Because if they know your next move, they can counter it before you even act. This is why most people lose power without a sound. They are walking open books. Their face flickers with every emotion. Their tone telegraphs intent. Their behavior follows the same rhythm every single time. They think they're being authentic, but they're just being transparent. And transparent people are easy targets, no mystery, no uncertainty, no room for error. But when you master strategic quiet, everything changes. Silence scrambles the signal. It hides intention. It erases emotional clues. Now, when someone looks at you, they see nothing they can use. No clear reaction. No obvious motive. No predictable loop. And that creates a deep primal discomfort because the human brain craves patterns to feel safe. When the pattern vanishes, the mind starts hunting, guessing, trying to regain control. But it can't. And that inability breeds tension. They begin questioning themselves. What is he thinking? Why isn't she reacting? What are they planning? The more they question, the more control slides toward you. Now they're obsessed with analyzing you, while you remain still, unreadable, untouchable. This is where real leverage begins. Not in forcing outcomes, but in becoming impossible to decode. Because when people can't read you, they can't prepare for you. They hesitate. They second-guess. They hold back, and hesitation is an open door. You don't need to act aggressive. You don't need to dominate loudly. Your unpredictability does the work for you. It slows them down. It punctures their confidence. It weakens their ability to respond. But this level of control requires discipline. You must resist the urge to show how you feel. You must master your face. You must break your own habits of reacting the same way twice, because every repeated reaction is a clue, and every clue brings them closer to understanding you. So remove the clues. Be calm when they expect emotion. Be still when they expect movement. Be silent when they expect a speech. Suddenly, you're no longer inside their system. You're outside it, unpredictable, unreadable, uncontrollable, and that is where your advantage becomes undeniable. In a world of people trying to be figured out, the one who cannot be read owns the room. 4. Deny them the reaction they're starving for. Most people don't provoke you to win. They provoke you to move you, to shift your emotional state, to pull you off your center, to make you dance to their rhythm. It's rarely about facts. It's about influence. They throw small jabs. They question your choices. They tease, test, and challenge. Not because they need answers, but because they need a flinch. Because the moment you flinch, you become a puppet. Anger makes you sloppy. Frustration makes you careless. Defensiveness makes you reveal more than you should. And in that emotional fog, you stop thinking strategically. You start reacting instinctively. And instinctive reactions are child's play to manipulate. This is the hidden game most people never see. They think they're defending their honor. But they've already been sucked into someone else's arena. They're no longer controlling the situation is controlling them. Because reactions are not power. Reactions are receipts. Proof that someone has access to your inner world. Proof that they can dictate how you feel and act. And once they know they can influence you, they will keep pressing different buttons until they find the one that makes you snap. But when you remove the reaction entirely, the whole scheme collapses. No anger. No visible frustration. No emotional shift. Just a wall of calm. And that calm is deeply confusing. Breaks the script. They expect to fight and get a void. They expect noise and get stillness. Now the dynamic flips. They don't feel powerful anymore. They feel uncertain. They start questioning their own approach. Did my words even land? Without a reaction, provocation starves. No result means no reward. So they either stop or they push harder. And when they push harder and still get nothing, they start to unravel. Their true intentions become obvious. Their own frustration leaks out. Their control slips. Now the roles reverse. They are reacting while you remain steady. They are losing control while you keep it. This is the shift you want, not by overpowering them, but by refusing to step into their trap. The strongest position is not winning the argument. It's refusing to join the argument at all. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to correct every lie. You only need to stay in command of yourself, because self-command is the one thing nobody can steal from you unless you give it away. And every reaction is a small surrender. So stop handing it over. Hold your state. Stay grounded. Let their words pass through you like wind through a canyon, felt but not damaging. Because people can only control what they can affect. And if they can't affect you, they can't control you. 5. Let them underestimate you. Most people are obsessed with looking powerful. They want recognition, applause, immediate respect. So they broadcast their strength. They talk loudly. They show every card in their hand. And in doing so, they make a fatal error. They reveal their full capacity too soon. Because when others see exactly how strong you are, they prepare for it. They raise their shields. They become cautious. And the moment they become cautious, your job gets harder. Every move you make is now expected. You lose the element of surprise. But when you stay quiet, when you hold back, something magical happens. People start filling in the blanks themselves, and most of the time they get it wrong. They assume you're weaker, dumber, less dangerous than you really are. Not because you are, but because you never showed them otherwise. And that misjudgment is your secret weapon. Underestimation lowers their guard. They speak freely around you. They dismiss you as irrelevant. They stop seeing you as a threat. And that's exactly where you want them. Because when someone stops guarding themselves, they become exposed. They stop filtering their words. They reveal intentions without realizing it. They act carelessly, all while believing they're in control. But they're not. They're relaxed. And relaxed people make mistakes. This is why real power often hides behind a calm, forgettable exterior. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't chase validation. It waits. Because timing is more important than visibility. You don't need to flex your strength in every room. You only need to flex it when it matters. And when that moment comes, it lands twice as hard because they didn't see it coming. They never prepared. That's the advantage of being underestimated. You move without resistance, observe without pressure, and position yourself without interference. But this takes discipline. You have to resist the urge to correct their low opinion of you. You have to let them think less of you, even when your ego screams to prove them wrong. Because proving them wrong too early destroys the advantage. You don't interrupt their illusion. You let it grow. You let them build confidence on a false assumption. And while they're doing that, you're preparing quietly, carefully, surgically. The longer they underestimate you, the deeper their trap becomes. This isn't deception. It's restraint. It's understanding that power doesn't need to announce itself. It reveals itself only when unavoidable. So let them think what they want. Let them misjudge you. Let them overlook you. Because in their ignorance lies your leverage. And when you finally decide to act, it won't be loud or emotional. It will be precise and irreversible. 6. Make them chase your words. Most people talk too much because they fear silence will make them invisible. So they fill every gap. They respond instantly. They over-explain. They keep dead conversations breathing. And without realizing it, they devalue their own voice. Because when something is always available, it loses worth. When your words are constant, they become background noise, expected, ignored, forgotten. People stop listening carefully. They stop respecting your presence. Not because you lack intelligence, but because you've made yourself too easy. Silence flips this completely. When you don't answer immediately, tension builds. When you don't explain everything, curiosity grows. When you speak rarely, your words gain weight. Now people start noticing your absence. They wonder why you didn't reply. They replay past conversations in their head. They start thinking about you more than before. That's the shift. You move from chasing attention to attracting it. Because silence creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value. The less you speak, the more your words matter. The longer you wait, the heavier your response. People begin to anticipate your voice. They lean in when you finally talk. They listen to every syllable. Not because you changed what you say, but because you changed how often you say it. This is deep influence. It's not about volume. It's about timing. It's not about saying more. It's about saying less with intent. When your words are rare, they feel deliberate, controlled, important. And people respect what feels intentional. At the same time, your quiet creates emotional imbalance. When you don't respond as expected, they grow uncertain. Did I say something wrong? Why aren't they answering? What are they thinking? That uncertainty pulls them toward you. They start chasing clarity. They try to re-engage. They invest more effort to get your attention. And without chasing anyone, you become the one being pursued. This is the great reversal. Most people chase conversations. You let conversations come to you. Most people seek validation. You become the one others seek validation from, all through controlled silence. But it requires discipline. Resist the urge to reply instantly. Let messages sit. Be comfortable with unfinished moments. Because not every silence needs to be filled. In fact, the strongest position is often in the pause, the space between words. That's where tension lives. And tension is what pulls people in. So instead of speaking to keep attention, you withdraw just enough to create it. You stay present but selective. You speak when it serves you. You respond when it benefits your position. Nothing more. Once people start chasing your words, you no longer compete for attention. You control it. 7. Master the art of watching them self-destruct. Most people feel compelled to intervene. They see a conflict, a bad decision, someone digging their own grave, and their first instinct is to jump in and save them. But intervention often ruins the best lesson, because people rarely fail because of outside forces. They fail because of themselves. Their ego blinds them. Their impatience accelerates their mistakes. Their need to prove something overrides logic. And when you step back and let events unfold naturally, you gain the ultimate advantage. Observation becomes your weapon. By staying silent, you remove yourself from the blast zone. You allow their flaws to surface without interference. You let time expose the consequences of their own choices. Most people can't resist acting. They think action equals control. They believe that by jumping in, they maintain power. But real power is often passive. It is knowing when inaction achieves far more than any reaction could. When you watch carefully, patterns emerge. You see the rhythm of their behavior, the triggers they can't resist, the mistakes they make under pressure. These patterns are worth more than any argument. They reveal weaknesses, expose intentions, lay bare the vulnerabilities people work so hard to hide. Meanwhile, your presence remains calm, detached. You are not in the chaos. You are outside it, observing like a strategist studying a battlefield. And while they fight, panic, and flounder, you collect knowledge. You collect leverage. You collect timing. The beauty of this approach is its invisibility. They believe they're in control. They think their actions are unnoticed. They feel entitled to make mistakes without consequence. And in that false security, they accelerate their own downfall because impatience, pride, and overconfidence are loud. They do not wait. They do not calculate. They act first and think later. And when they act without foresight, they fail spectacularly. You don't need to intervene, criticize, or manipulate. You only need to remain still, watch, and understand. Then, when the time is right, you move with precision. By waiting, you avoid exposure. By watching, you gain insight. By staying silent, you retain power. This is the ultimate lesson in restraint. Power is not in controlling others directly. It is in letting their own flaws control them while you remain untouched. The less you interfere, the more they reveal. The more they reveal, the easier it becomes to act on reality instead of fighting it. This is mastery, and mastery comes from patience. Look around you. People are constantly reacting, arguing, explaining, chasing validation, exposing themselves without a clue. They are loud, impulsive, emotional, and predictable. Trapped by their own instincts, their need to be heard, their desire to prove themselves. And they don't even see it. But you've learned something different. You've learned that silence is not weakness. Stillness is not passivity. Patience is not waiting. It is strategy. Because while others fight to be noticed, you observe. While others reveal themselves, you remain unreadable. While others react and lose control, you hold your ground. Power does not come from spoken words. Comes from understood minds. You've learned to deny them the reaction they crave. You've learned to stay underestimated and let their overconfidence destroy them. You've learned to make them chase your words. You've learned to watch without interfering, letting their own ego and impatience dismantle their position. And the best part, none of this requires anger. None of this requires confrontation. None of this requires proof, because real power is invisible. It moves silently. It observes quietly. It acts only when the moment is perfect. The world is full of people screaming to be heard, fighting to control others, burning energy on every provocation. You, however, have discovered a different path. You stay silent. You watch carefully. You understand deeply. And in that silence, in that patience, in that discipline, you are untouchable, unpredictable, unstoppable. The most powerful people in any room are not the ones making noise. They are the ones who let others destroy themselves while they remain untouched, observing, and in control. Remember this. Carry it forward. If this shifted your perspective, hit like and make sure to subscribe to Winds of Thought for more strategic depth. I don't react. I observe. I win.